I hope everybody had a wonderful, relaxing vacation. All right. Okay, I know a little smoky for some. I just wanted to, and I know some of you here are here a little begrudgingly. I get it. You got classrooms you need to set up, you got construction projects you wanted to finish, you have data you need to enter, and now you're sitting here all day when you've got 50 million other things you think you could be doing. I get it, totally. However, I assure you that this was needed for the school district this year. Last year, startup was rough with the loss of Westwood School. Morale was a little low. So my wish for all of you today is you come out of this inspired, okay? Maybe some reflection, and then this afternoon we have a few laughs. I think it's well overdue for the school district. Yeah, and I guess we'll get things started. Mr. Harwood? Oh, sorry. Mr. Baduk is going to come and he's going to do our land acknowledgement. Wait till everybody's seated there.
Okay. Good morning. In the spirit of truth and reconciliation, we would like to acknowledge that we are signatories of Treaty 5 land and recognize the Nissequoiastic Cree Nation, on whose traditional territory we live, learn, and teach. The school district of Mystery Lake is located in the community of Thompson in the province of Manitoba, which is located on the traditional and ancestral lands of the Nahatho, Ininu, Denisluina, Métis, Inuit, Anisinu, Anishinaabe, and Dakota OI8 nations. Let this acknowledgement serve as a reminder of our commitment to honor treaties in the spirit of truth and reconciliation. We are all treaty people.
Next, I'd like to call on Todd Harwood to introduce one of Thompson's very own. So here we go. And if you suck, Steve, we got good snacks, so.
I never miss an opportunity to promote. Before I introduce Steve, I just wanted to maybe sell the fact that Thompson is hosting the Manitoba Games March 1st to 7th. I've heard some mixed emotions about the fact that we're hosting this, especially from some of my education colleagues. The perk, I think, is a spring break that maybe gets some cheaper vacations around the March time, but I get that it turns some people's worlds upside down when things are different. So thanks for your patience. We're excited to host the Manitoba Games March 1st to 7th. 1,500 athletes, 1,000 volunteers are needed, and that's kind of why I'm here. We would love to see some of these faces volunteer. I have some cards that I'm going to leave on the snack table. If you're interested in volunteering, there's a little QR code. We have 12 sports. Some of the areas that we specifically need volunteers, obviously, is putting those events together. We've got food services, communication, transportation, so lots of other, if you have skills in other areas, we could definitely use you. There are some people in the room who would, I'm sure, appreciate some help. I'm going to just mention some of them. Jeff Parody is chairing our ceremonies. Where's Jeff? Jeff's going to need some volunteers for that, so I'm sure he would love some help. Delvine Langen's chairing the archery event. They're going to definitely need some volunteers, so you could definitely go see her. Emily Crummy and her partner are chairing speed skating. Agnes Zabo, Aaron Crocus are chairing figure skating. Gymnastics is they're here somewhere, sorry. Yeah, way in the back, yep. Gymnastics is being chaired by Coral Thompson, wherever Coral is. Hope she's here. Hope I'm not ratting these people out and they're not even here, eh? Holy, so she's in the back too. Yeah, no doubt, hey? What a great start to the year. And chairing hockey and looking after all the ice sports actually is Justin Valentino. So hoping Justin's here too. Okay, good. Also wanted to say thank you to a couple of people. If you might not have seen it yet, where there's the push for being kind of more visible in the community is going to be happening starting now. And Cree language is going to be front and center in a lot of our promotions. And so I wanted to thank Jen Alcock, I saw her here, Shauna Huber, Mike Spence, Lal Massan. for a lot of coordinating some of the Cree language stuff that we're doing. We're going to be translating a lot of our promotional materials and whatnot. So if you would like to volunteer, we would love to have you. Like I said, the cards are here. Come see any one of those people and we would gladly sign you up. In saying all that, I'm up here to welcome an old friend, Steve deGroot. So from humble beginnings on Hemlock Avenue, Stephen has gone from being a Juniper Jaguar to the president of Breva Consulting. Stephen holds an impassioned and singular purpose to make better the lives of as many people as possible by optimizing human potential and eliminating unnecessary conflict, stress, and suffering in work and in life. His passion for achieving and sustaining positive outcomes drives his chase to design and develop the most effective, efficient, and sustainable people practices. And then we're kind of in the people business. So please help me welcome Steve deGroot.
All right, awesome. I like when people introduce me. Thank you, Todd, and Agel. This is going to be an inspiring day, and I'm sitting there going, "Oh man, I should have brought a better presentation." Would you guys prefer me down here, up here? I mean, what's better for you guys? Up, going up. All right, look at that. I've only been here a minute, and I'm already getting to better. All right, so thanks, Todd. I usually like when my mom introduces me because it's really awesome. But next time anyone introduces me, I just want to give you a tip. Just say welcome. The presentation's going to be all right. And that way we start there, okay? Just to keep that in mind. The other thing I want to say, I don't know whether to start with an apology or a thank you. Because my time in school, at high school, wasn't the best, actually. I'll tell you a little bit about that. Before I get to that, there's certain things being back into Thompson. A lot of people don't know, growing up in a small town, there's so many awesome things. But the one not so awesome thing is when you jump in the car, you don't ask if somebody brought their tunes. It's did you bring your tune? Because it's the only town where you get through barely one tune. Right? Did you notice that? Right? You jump in your car, you put a tune on, you're it gets to the best part, and you're we're here, we're at Tim Hortons, what do you guys want? Right? It's the only place I know where you can leave 2 minutes to the hour and show up 7 minutes early. I love being in Thompson. I grew up here. By the way, I'm a Jaguar. Any Jaguars in the house? Right? Now, I'm sorry about what happened to Westwood. I am. Which means I can't take the piss out of the Vikings. It's going to be a somber, compassionate kind of a day. Okay. All right. My therapist said that's a good idea, to be more compassionate. So I fired him. Because he also said I had control issues. Whatever. All right, I do want to say thank you. I'm doing a lot of really awesome stuff. Stuff that I never thought I would do. So I really don't know whether to start with an apology or a thank you. So I'm going to start with the apology because I was a terrible student if I didn't like you. I was also a really good student. But one of the things I've been reflecting on as I got ready for this day was what were the things that made me a good student? And it wasn't me. It was my teachers. It was the educational assistants. It was the staff. When I reflect on my success, and it's been quite a bit lately, it has to do with the people that guided me, encouraged me, and supported. And I wasn't easy to hold. People that know me, I was a funny guy. I had an identical twin brother who was exceptionally good looking. I'm glad that you got that. Do you know how often there's people that are why would he say that? And it's usually a child that looks up at the adults and says, he's a twin, he's saying he's good looking. Right? And we like to have fun and stuff, but I was really difficult. I was hard to hold. I got kicked out of most classes. I got suspended twice in Juniper School before grade 8. I got suspended in high school 3 times. I had to graduate a year later. Right? That's all the stuff that most people don't know, right? I was also captain of the volleyball team. I was in the choir. I was in the band for a while. I was a big part of the community. And what was amazing is that troubled kid was barely getting by, right? Barely getting by. And it was two teachers in particular that I'm going to share some of my experiences along the way, because one was a teacher I'd never got along with until the very last 2 weeks before I graduated. And the other one I got along with forever. And they both did the same thing for me that got me to where I'm going to be. And I'm going to share that with you guys today. I'm going to share it with a little bit. And you already know. So my apologies out of the way. Now I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you because I know I worked in education for a long time. I still do. I work with some amazing people. And you will never be thanked. You will never be thanked enough for how hard you work, for how much you think about the people you work with, the students that you work with. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And it's not just for the difficult situations, because it is getting more difficult, right? It's more difficult to be in education and learning, to be an educational staff, to be a teacher than any other time in history. That's why today, at the end of the year, I got lots of teachers in my family, and I never know what to say, when it gets close to the day. I'm like, I want to say have a good year. They're like, don't say anything, okay? I've got 3 days left. Don't even break it up. I'm like, so it's the night before. I'm like, hey, have a good, I'm watching my last show, okay? You meet some other people, I see people around here, you see the primitive response. I look across the audience, you got some people that are the fight or flight, right? That response. You got teachers that are ready to fight. They're like, oh yeah. You got Harwood is like, oh yeah, I can't wait for March, man. We're gonna nail that sporting event, right? You've got people that are rocking in their seat. They're the fighters. They're like, we're going to have a great year. We're going to have an awesome year no matter what. It's going to be awesome. And then you got the people who are like, Angel's like, how are you guys doing? How was the holidays? They're all, yeah, thanks for reminding us that they're over. And your flight is in your mind. Your flight is to next summer already. You're like, it's going to be a good year as soon as it gets to June. And then you got some of the new students. I got the new teachers, right? I see you out there. That's where, we got fight and flight, and then we got freeze and flounder, right? The freeze, it looks chill, but it's called paralysis. It's like, they're just like, just keep nodding. I don't know. I have students, right? Students? Yeah. And then you have the flounder. You know what that is, eh? Every time you talk to them, I'm just getting my classroom ready. I'm just getting everything ready. What are you doing tonight? Just get my classroom ready. I think school's open. I'm just floundering. The other thing I know is I want to thank you for all of that stuff. I also want to thank you for, they say statistically when students spend an average of 4 years in school, they age 4 years. And apparently research is showing that during that same time, teachers and educational staff and maintenance staff age about 13 years in that time. It's quite fascinating. So thank you for that. And then you've got the kids. That's one thing. And then you got the families that come with them, right? Meet the creature night. You remember those nights? Hey, that's where you meet you're struggling with some kids, and then you finally meet the creatures, and you're like, oh my God, this makes so much sense. I think next time, instead of sending him to the office, we're throwing him a party. And we need to get this kid a trophy for tolerating these people. Right? You've ever had that experience? Have you had this experience? You meet the parents and you're like, oh my God. Wow. So I want to thank you. And next year, maybe I'll be in place of Big Daddy Taz. I don't know. Maybe, so I want to thank you very much for being amazing staff. So what I'm going to share today, there's actually a presentation. I was like, is there a presentation? What are we paying for here? Come on, man, get to it. We weren't supposed to laugh till 1 o'clock. Okay, so what am I going to do? I probably have too much to share. I want to keep it light. I try to want to be funny a little bit. I want you to be involved. I want you to ask questions and make comments. I'm going to share stuff that you already know. I'm going to talk about it in a very different way. And I'm going to share with you what I'm learning about things. I'm doing a lot of research and stuff, and I do have a book coming out. And the reason why I'm saying that, because honestly, this thing has almost killed me. I've been working on it for 30 years. I've been validating it with some of the best people on the planet in every industry for 15, and I've been trying to write it for 5. And it's honestly going to kill me because if anyone knows, I don't sit still very long. I hate writing. So if you ever like it, you can say, yeah, thank you, Steve. You're welcome. The reason why I'm talking about it is because it was built to help teachers. It's built to help parents. It's built to help anybody who has a role in developing the responsibility, the commitment, the success, and the well-being of children, youth, right? So the reason why I'm saying that, because for the first time ever, it's almost coming out. And when I do these presentations, I worry about, did I give enough handouts? Did I leave them with enough information? And what I want you to know is everything I present here plus 100 other things is going to be in that book. So if you're the kind of person that wants to take notes and like, oh, that was a good point. So first thing, I'm going to send these slides that you're seeing. I'm going to send them as a PDF to the school board and they can send them out so you can have them. Because I know sometimes I'm one of those people, I want to get that down. What was that thing that was said? Sit back and relax. And the other thing is the book is not very expensive at all. So it's coming out. And if you're ever feeling like this is a lot of information to take in, especially the day before we get started for the year, it's coming out, okay? The stuff that I want to share with you, though, you already know, and I'm going to get into it. And I want to start with a couple things. And there's a reason why the full title isn't up to right now. That's not the full title of the presentation. And you're going to learn about that in the next little while. Why didn't Steve put the full title of the presentation up? Because that's something that I want to see if it actually happens. I like experiments. So I want to ask you to think about some things. Today we're talking about things like well-being and motivation and when were you able to feel better at work and do better during certain circumstances. So the title is going to capture that. But what I want you to do, one of my biggest things is you be the research. You don't need 4 out of 5 people to tell you how you feel about school, right? You don't need the research to say what most teachers feel like the night before their class start or educational staff. And by the way, I want to say something. It's the whole staff because I want to mention something. I'm going to mention 2 teachers. But there was one person in the school that I absolutely adored more than anybody in the school. And that was Gillis. That was Gillis. I'm going to talk about some concepts here that Gillis lived, and he didn't know it. I know he's still around town and stuff, and he just retired. But I'll tell you something. The first thing I do when people hang out with me long enough and they let me hang around is I thank them for their tolerance. Because I'm hard, right? I like high energy, want to do things, never want to do the right way, only want to color outside of the lines. Let's do it, let's make it, let's break it, let's bend it, right? And he was always tolerant. I would show up early. No, you can't go to the gym. Just a little bit, please, please, you know, right? And he was always smiling. He was always kind, and he was always there. So I just wanted to send a shout out to Gillis. It's those people in your lives that make a huge impact. So I want to ask you something. I'm going to turn my clicker on here. And I want you to know from now on in, you can jump in with any comments or questions. Okay? I want you to participate today. I want you to think about, I really want you to think about today what brought you to learning or education. Right? Now, I'm going to get to the next question just in case, because some people are accidental teachers. I know that. My brother Mike's, I don't know. I'm not sure what I'm going to do. But then he knew what kept him there, right? So that's the second question. What brought you to learning? What brought you to working with kids? What brought you to this field? I want you to think about that for a second. And I'm going to try to tie in why some of the things that are important to us are critical for us when things aren't going well. You with me on that, folks? I use the word shift instead of the word shit. So just to let you know, from now on, I'm not going to say that bad word, but it always feels good to say it the first time. So when I say things like, when the shift hits, you're not wondering, did he say shift? I did. Because you know, it hits, doesn't it? Losing a school, COVID, you name it. A suicide, right? All of that stuff happens in the reality of your world, right? So what are the things that brought you to education and learning? What are the things that keep you here? Does anybody want to shout out? Anybody know for sure what brought you to education or learning? Does anybody know? Like, does it come to you right away? Do you know for sure? Anybody want to say what it is? Yeah. All right, grade 5. So you knew grade 5, you wanted to be a teacher for that reason. Awesome. Thank you very much. Anyone else? Anybody else? Anybody like the fluffy stuff, like make a difference, build a community, save a life? Yes. You were a struggling reader? You had a grade 1 teacher and a grade 2 teacher that made the difference. Awesome. Thank you. Right? So it sounds to me like you want to make a difference in the lives of the students that come through your life, right? That's pretty awesome. Like that's the thing, right? That's the thing. Make a difference. Awesome. Awesome. This is good stuff. So what are the things that keep you there, folks? Because I know it's not all butterflies and rainbows, right? What are the things that keep you in the job that you're in right now? Does anybody know? What's the things that keep you there? You can shout them out. The kids. Okay, what is it about the kids? What do you want for the kids? That's my next question. Going to tie these 3 questions together. What do you want for them? Make a difference. Inspire them. Get them involved. What else, folks? I want to hear from you. What do you hope or do you want for the students that you are in your care? Light bulb moments. What else? Empathy. What else? To be heard. I heard that. Good job. Wonder. Thinking. What else? To feel confident. What else? Discover creativity. Awesome. Do you want them to make better choices? To rise above their shitty life syndrome. Shifty life syndrome. Jiffy life syndrome. Sounds like some doctors I know. All right. So here's the thing. Why is this important? Because here's the thing. Education nowadays, the world nowadays, right? The crazy, nutty world that's going on has a way of knocking all of us off balance. Has anybody had a bad day? Can I see a show of hands? Okay. Okay. All right. Has anybody had a bad week? Can I see a show of hands? Okay, I'm gonna stop there because I know what's happening. People are like going, I thought he was a motivational speaker. I don't know about you, but I feel depression setting in. Right? You ever have a tough month? I'm just kidding. Who's with me? Sorry, Angel. So here's the thing. Every single person in here has asked this question. Why am I doing this? If you didn't ask that question 3 months into COVID, I'd like to take what you're taking. Here's the thing about your answers to those questions. The reason why I get education people to think about what brought you here, what keeps you here, because some of us forget. And here's the thing I know about humans, is when we ask that question, why am I doing this? And we don't have an answer, that day does not get better. Are you with me on that, folks? If you ask yourself, why am I doing this, and you can't answer it, your day doesn't get better. It actually gets worse. And it gets worse for the people that you're supporting. It gets worse for the people around you. And that's why one of the first things I want you to keep doing, especially you young new teachers, you new educational staff, is stay connected to why you're here and what keeps you here. And when the shift hits, it won't take you out. That's just one of many things I'm going to share today. Right? Does that make sense, folks? There's 2 other really good reasons, and some of you might like these. There's 2 other good reasons, and I'm sending you these slides. There's something called the intent impact gap. Like, for instance, I woke up to be a little bit funny today. Now, don't tell me if I'm funny or not, okay? I intended to be funny, but maybe my behavior today isn't so funny. You with me? That's called the intent impact gap. Most education staff wake up to succeed, wake up to have a good day. Right? One of the reasons why I want Todd to ask Steve, what do you want for the students in your class? What do you want for your students in the gym? And I say to feel confident and to feel safe here. And that's all you need to know, right? And then one day Todd walks by the gym and he hears Steve going, what the f- are you guys Oh, that doesn't sound congruent. Sounds like Steve's having a bad day. Quick, someone get Gillis. Or as I like to call him, Gilles. So what I need, this is where a staff, right? Have you ever walked by someone's classroom and you're like, what are they doing? Have you ever had that experience? Like, this is my, I'm being sarcastic. This isn't my favorite, but this is one of my favorites. What's wrong with you? Right? The kid's like in grade 2. I'm like, oh my God. This is the worst day of this kid's life. Now, I'm going to be honest, we all have bad days, right? I like Steve yelling at some of the guys in the gym, right? So I need Todd to come over and do the next thing, which is the gentle squeeze of accountability. That's the GSA. And the gentle squeeze of accountability is I need Todd to come over and say, hey, dude, how's it going? And I'm like, I'm having a bad day. And he goes, I can hear that. What do you need, right? So we connect. It only takes 5 minutes. And then he asks me a very important question. This is where you guys can hold each other, what I call in a gentle, compassionate squeeze of accountability. We're not doing it enough, right? We're not doing it enough. And all I need from Todd is to say, hey, Steve, how is it still important for you to have the guys feel safe in the gym? And I can already feel when he says that, oh. And I'm all, yeah. And he goes, how is calling them those names and yelling like that helpful for that? And I just say it's not, and that's it. And that's all he's doing is he's helping me stay connected to my purpose, and he's helping me in a supportive way versus not saying anything. Are you with me on that, folks? And that becomes a source of strength. We're going to talk about that. That becomes a source of strength, okay? Now, I'm not saying it's easy, right? It's not easy, but when we support each other, it gets easier, right? To say, hey, how are you doing? You know, I heard that there's a little bit of loud volume coming from the classroom, right? Or I noticed that Jimmy was outside the room for the whole day again, right? Right. You take Jimmy. All right. Yes, question. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I think you need a cup of coffee. Yeah. All right. Yeah. There you go. That's the GSA right there. Give that kid a trophy. Yeah. You know, and thank goodness you didn't turn and go, I think you need a cup of shut the heck up. Or how about an F? Yeah. Yeah. He's now a therapist. He makes a lot of money. And he's got one prescription. I think you need more coffee. And at least half the people that he sees are like, oh my God, that's so profound. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, this is it. It is hard. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about something right away about how, because I was a very boisterous kid. One of the teachers I was going to mention was Mr. Freeman. Some of you don't know Mr. Freeman. That was the one that I didn't get along with until my last 3 weeks of high school. Right? See, but here's the thing, though. This is important. We're all products of our environments. Because imagine this. Imagine Todd doesn't tell me. This is important, folks. I meet teachers, because I'm doing a lot of research on this human stuff. I meet surgeons. Whoever's like, oh, he's a jerk, he's a jerk, he's a jerk. It's usually a man. Gotta fix that. Right? And then we go talk to people, and no one has ever said anything. No one has ever said anything. Right? And we're holding people responsible for yelling at kids or doing this or not getting their class ready or whatever. And, we're talking about them over here, but sometimes we don't really go talk to them. Does that make sense? Yet we expect them to change. And this is really, really important because I think we're hard on, the reason why I'm bringing up Mr. Freeman is because I was hard on him. I was very hard on him. I was the kid that was easier to put outside the class, right? But something happened. There was an inflection point. There was an inflection point where I was going to try to help out the classroom and say, everybody, because it was my final year and I was apparently accidentally valedictorian. So it was like, Didn't want it. Got it. And I said, we shouldn't be calling each other names in the classroom because that's a classroom rule. And then he called me a bozo. Just like a big incongruence. Like, whoa, this is kind of a incongruence. So that was the last time I got suspended from high school. I'll tell you the good part of the story. So what I'd like you to do right now, I'm not going to give you statistics. I'm not going to share conceptual models. I want you to be the research. So I want you to turn to a person that you're sitting with, and we're going to have a conversation about a time, and you can choose one. You can choose whether you experienced a great team, okay? And I'd like it to be work if possible, like a work team at some point. It doesn't have to be in school, but some sort of project team, work team, or a great leader, a great principal, vice principal, teacher lead. It could be a director, a manager, a school superintendent. It doesn't really matter. Someone in a leadership position. I want you to pick one of those and you're going to have a paired conversation. And I know it'll probably get loud in here, so you may want to lean in and stuff. And I want you to do a couple of things. I want you to talk about what made that moment so great. Okay, like, I'm going to say, one of my leadership moments was great because it was positive. The person that I'm thinking about right now was always had an optimistic attitude and always looked at the bright side, right? Also had ideas like, there's no wrong answer, Steve. You can screw up here. You can have a second chance. And it just and she was fun. Even in really difficult times, tried to make jokes and make light of it, right? So what I want you to do is what made that experience so great? On a great team, we've had great teams. We're collaborating. We had each other's back. We had a chant or a mantra, whatever. You have experiences, and what I want you to do is, if Todd and I were in having a paired conversation, I would ask, who do you want to go first? Do you want to go first? And he picks a team or a leader, and he just starts telling me about them. What I want to pay attention to while I'm listening to Todd's story is just what were the ingredients? What were the behaviors that the people were doing? What were the interactions or the values that make this experience out of the thousands that you had one of the greatest, okay? And once Todd's done, it's about 3 or 4 minutes, and I'll make sure that you change people. Now, then I'll say to Todd, I'm going to tell you my greatest team I was on, man. And he'll just listen, and he's listening for things like we had each other's backs, we were positive, we gave honest feedback, whatever my thing is, and then we're gonna have a discussion and ask people what were the things that made, whether it was a leader or a team, contribute to your greatest moments ever, and how were you feeling in those moments? How would you describe that? That'll be the next part. Okay, does that make sense? What I'm asking you to do? Anybody have any questions about that? So if you're sitting a seat in between somebody, find a partner, all right, and start having a conversation about your greatest leader ever or your greatest team, and just listen to each other and try to capture some of those qualities, okay? I'm very sorry to be interrupting. I see some people smiling. I don't know about you, but I love talking about greatest moments because they feel good. Anybody feel good while they're telling that story? Yeah? So I'm sorry for interrupting. Although I gotta admit, have you ever said you're sorry and you weren't? Has anyone ever done that? It's not just me? Okay, good. But I was sorry that time. I want to be honest about that. I don't like interrupting stories where you actually feel good about the story, where you're telling somebody about something and you actually feel the experience. Does anybody feel the experience come back to you a little bit? Right? It's pretty awesome. So let me ask you, what qualities did you identify? What were some of the things that stood out, either out of your story or someone else's story, that made that time the greatest ever? What were some of the things that you heard?
For both of us, I think it was all about being in a place where people are learning together.
Okay.
And having that support.
Okay, learning and support. Awesome. So people are learning together. That's important, right? We weren't just learning. We were learning together, right? And there was support. Awesome. Thank you. What else, folks? Okay, yeah, listening. You said it at the same time. All right. Okay, positive, concrete. Okay, concrete responses. People were listening. Awesome. Thank you very much. Ooh, a balance of serious and fun. Okay, awesome. That was like my father. He'd come in and we're in trouble and he'd be smiling and he goes, does it look like I'm smiling? And I'm like, is this a trick question? But a balance of serious and fun, right? Playful, but we got to get shift done. No arguments. Wow. I'd like to visit that place. I'll tell you that much. Sounds like a fun place to go. All right, thank you very much. What else? What else did you hear? Teamwork. Okay, what else? Honesty. Encouragement, dedication. So encouragement, dedication, support, accountability, validation, respect. What was over here? Genuine. Yes, genuine, authentic. Okay, cool. Now, it's amazing because as I look around the room, people are like, okay, yeah, honest. We all have like some of them stand out. Like you see people go, yeah, accountability, or yeah, fun. So everyone has their own experience. So let me ask you this. If I was to meet you during that time, if you could go back, maybe it's now, maybe you're experiencing your greatest team or your greatest leadership now, that'd be awesome. How would you describe, if you could describe that time, how would you describe it? How would you describe that place of work or that place on the team or that place of leadership? If you could grab word, I see people smiling already because it's one of those things, you can feel it. How would you describe that time? What are the words that you would use to describe that moment? Images, words. Sense of humor, okay? Inspiration, you were inspired. Anyone else? Cohesion, awesome. What else? Teamwork. Amazing. That's what I'm going for. Your personal experience. Awesome. How would you describe your experience? Motivating. Awesome. What else? Appreciated. Empowered. Listen to these words. Empowered, inspired, motivated, happy. Were you coming early? Were you staying late? Were you going above and beyond? Would you say in moments like, because I've asked 25,000 people this question, would you say that you were unstoppable? Would you? Everybody nodded. Almost everybody in here went, yeah. Unshakable, unstoppable, inspired, going above and beyond, right? Does that make sense? Does that close to your experience? We use different words, engaged, motivated, inspired. But what's wild, and here it comes, I said this to somebody in Winnipeg last week. I have heard over 1,000 words describe this time in 12 different countries. And I hear things like inspired, joyous, it feels better than home, and it wasn't a broken home, so it's okay. No, that's where I went. I'm like, wow, I'm so sorry for you. But there's one word I said to one of my researchers last week in Edmonton. It's actually the word that we feel, but no one has said it. Out of 25,000 people, no one has ever said this word. And I just woke up to this going, oh my God. And that's why I didn't put it in the title. Does anybody find that fascinating? Unshakable, to me, sounds resilient. Unstoppable sounds resilient. You couldn't hold me down sounds resilient. I came early. I stayed late. I helped out. I was like, do you see where I'm going with this? But no one's ever said it. And I'm not lying. Like, no one said it here. No one said it in Edmonton, 1,000 people are there. No one has said it. And here's the thing. I'm going to talk about why we need to start getting this word right. Because when the shift hits, that's what we need, right? But see, the reason we've screwed up this word, and this is what I'm going to talk about today, and we're going to get back to your greatest moment. I have people, I go these hospitals across Canada, we're working with people who are so burnt out. They're so short. They're 75% short of staff every day. And they're like, how do we motivate people? How do we keep inspiring them? And they're like, Steve, we want you to come out. I went out to do a 200 thing for all these physician leaders, and they called me and said, we don't want you to talk about resilience. I'm like, what? Like, yeah, don't use that word. We're sick of it. Can you talk about something else? And I'm like what? Yoga? So we're gonna fix this today, okay? We're gonna fix this. So today's title, which took me a whole 40 minutes to introduce, because some people see that word, right? And they roll their eyes. Some people see that word and they throw up in their mouths. And some people, and this is what we got to do, is like we got to get back to it, because our resilience is how we get through the shift. Our resilience is how we get up when we feel like giving up. So today we're going to talk about it, and you already know it. That's the crazy thing. Here we go. Why is it a riddle? So I call it the resilience riddle. This is my issue, right? Most people, when you ask them about it, what will they say? How would you define it? Like, it's simple. Anybody got a definition? Quickly, like out of the pocket? Boom, bouncing back. There it is. Yeah, that's right. We all say that, right? Bounce back, get up. Get knocked down 7, Steven, get up 8. I'm all, yeah, but what does it mean? Like, after that, it gets really murky, right? It's like, what is it really? Yeah, adaptability. There we go. Now we're getting closer. Here's the problem, though, too, is when do we hear about the word? I always love it. Like when kids like bump their head on the picnic table. Like, listen for this next time, right? Someone will be opening a beer. They're like, don't worry, they're resilient. That's when I hear it, right? Someone bumps their head. The kids are resilient. He'll bounce back. Right? Or when a team loses, right? We hear when a team loses. Oh, they came back. They were down. We thought they were going to lose. Wow, what a resilient team, right? We hear it in these moments. And we usually hear about it during a crisis. Does that make sense? That's when we hear it. It's like during or after the crisis, but rarely ever do we hear about it. And here's the thing. We hear that it's like built through adversity, right? There's this idea. Now, this is really important, which leads us all to this individual trait. Like, you either got it or you know. I hear people all the time. I work with people like every week that are not doing well. And they'll say things like, I'm not resilient. Have you heard someone say that? I'm not resilient. It's like, okay, well, we're going to change that, because all of those things, and you're going to get these slides, okay? I'm going to send you these slides. They lead to what I call the worst question, or the wrong question at the worst time. Most of you know this question. Everybody in here has asked this question. Does anybody know what I would say the worst question at the wrong time is? What's that? Oh, close. I heard a couple okay, and then what's wrong? You're close on that one. Say that again. What's wrong? You're there. Okay, with you, that's the second worst question. So what would the first question be? What's wrong with me? Think about that for a second. The reason why it's the worst question at the wrong time is because we only ask it when we're doing badly. It's like the worst time to ask it. There's nothing wrong with us, actually. That's what this whole thing is about. And actually, you're more resilient than you think, and we're going to find out how you can access it. How many people has asked this question? What's wrong with me? Has anybody asked this one? I asked it 3 times yesterday. Anybody ask? Right? And it's a stupid question. The reason why it's a stupid question, because you'll know it's never led to anything good. If there's someone here that had a really, really bad week and was sitting there staring in the mirror and said, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with me? And it sparked like some inspirational, good, positive feelings, I want to talk to you. I want to take what you're taking. The reason why it's a bad question for so many reasons is it usually leads to feeling shame or more blame, and it actually makes things worse. So if you ever hear yourself saying that, you have to tell it to shut the heck up, just for starting. And then you got to do something else. We're going to get to the good stuff. So how did this happen? How do we look at this beautiful word resilience and go, oh? Because we question our resilience at the wrong time. We search for it when we're struggling and stuck. That's the moment we try to look for it. And that's not the time to be looking for it. I'm going to talk about that. It's like trying to learn how to swim when someone's drowning. Right? So we got to get this, we got to turn this around, and we're going to turn it around so we miss our resilience when it's happening. When is it happening? Right now. See, if we understand that resilience is always happening, we look for it when it's happening. Does that make sense? Like in that great moment. We're going to get to that. Is this holding together conceptually, folks? Okay. And the reason why we got to get this right is because we got to stop asking those two questions. What's wrong with you and what's wrong with me? Because they are absolutely the worst questions in the world, and they do very little to build us up. They actually undermine our confidence. They actually undermine our sense of capability. And in really rough times, they totally undermine our ability to stay calm. That's why we got to change this, and we can. We can start by asking what's right with me more often. Right? Like right now, what's right with you? I know it's weird, right? It's weird. Like I come from a Dutch family. They'd be like, my opa's like spinning in his grave, right? Right. He's a really good spinner. We're not taught to focus on what's going well. What's going well right now in this moment? What are all the things that we're doing? Because I got to ask you this. Would you agree that every day is a new day? Can I see a show of hands? Every day is a new day to start over. It's a new day, right? So, okay, we'll get to that. Good. So let's define resilience. I heard it earlier, adaptable. This is the way I define resilience. It's our everyday human strength. That's what it is. It's that simple. The reason why it's hard to catch and it's a riddle is because we've created a thing. It's like it's every day. It's your ability to learn. You're open to learning. Who's open to learning? I see people taking notes. Who's open to learning something really cool right now, right? If I had something to share, are you open? Yeah, absolutely you're open. Who was open to sharing in your greatest moment? How much learning was going on in your greatest moment? You with me on that, folks? You were open. You were wide open. And because you were learning, you were ready and able to adapt. You with me on that? Learning and adapting go together. And if we don't learn, we can't adapt, right? But the thing is, every day we're learning and adapting, and we're doing it. And one thing I love about teachers is you're building kids to be resilient. You're like resilience makers, right? You're literally building the creating resilience. And what's really cool about this is great moments aren't an accident. I'm really beating this drum on this one. If we believe that every day is a new day, and I'm using this acronym, right? So if every day is a new day, that means that tomorrow and today we'll have new stuff, right? New stuff that we haven't seen before. Like a new family shows up, or there's a new classroom I got a different, right? Or it's unpredictable, right? My classroom has been moved. Oh, is that unpredictable? Yeah, I didn't predict that. Do you know what happens in those moments? You adapt. And we missed it. Does that make sense? Now we wait until you can't handle things next week to go, what's wrong with you? When last week you adapted 20 times. Does that make sense? We've got to catch resilience when it's happening. And it's always happening. The reason why I have NUCD up there is because you can have a new day, or some days you can have a nuked day. And that's when new, unpredictable, complex, and disruptive all happen at once. Okay? But what prepares us for the nuked days are learning about what happens on the new days. Are you with me, folks? Right? See, when you have a good day and someone says, how was your day? It was probably full of 3 or 4 curveballs. You with me on that? If you're lucky, right? And then you adapted. You called a friend, you did this, and then all of a sudden you didn't note it. No notes were made on that day, right? And then the shift hits. How's your day? Oh, I suck. I couldn't do this. I couldn't do that. And that is the evidence that we start to gather around our resilience. Are you with me on that, folks? And there's some really good news coming your way. Every day is a new day. And one of the things that makes your great experiences so great, I'm going to share these 3 things, and you know them well. They're just words, but this is what I'm here to tell you. The things that make your great experiences so great are what I call the 3 great states. The 3 great states, you know them well. They happen in our relationships with each other, and they happen in our environments, right? You be the evidence. These are just words. I'm only using words that you already know. Let's go through them. What's safe? Well, I'm going to guess that in that great team experience, that leadership experience, you were feeling physically, emotionally, socially, and mentally safe. Would you agree with that? Did you feel comfort in that team, in that relationship with the leader? Did you feel trust? That's what safety is. You've heard about psychological safety, but these 3 great states goes beyond that. So safe, and then you've got significant. Well, what's significant? Significant is feeling like you matter. Significant is feeling like you are valued or you're valuable, not just as a student, not just as a colleague, not just as a teacher, but valuable as a human being. You have worth. You belong. That's what significant is. When you think back to your great states, when you think back to your greatest moment with a leader or with a team, can you connect with that? Were you feeling valued in that moment? Were you feeling that you belonged in that moment? Absolutely. Let's go to the next one. Situated is a bit weird. What's situated mean? Well, situated, I was clear. I knew what to expect. It was predictable. I know what my role was. I knew what their role was. I knew my place on the team. I knew my place in the, right? I was situated. What makes safe, significant, and situated so awesome is that we can control them. We can control them in our relationships, and we can control them in our environments. And here's the thing is this is what contributes to our resilience. Specific behaviors create safe. Specific behaviors create significant, and specific behaviors create situated. Does that make sense conceptually, folks? Were you feeling safe in that reflection that you did earlier? Would you say that you felt significant in that situation earlier? Would you say that you were situated and clear? Absolutely. And what did it lead to? Absolute ultimate human strength. Confidence, a sense of capability, and calm. Any questions at this point? It gets easier. We're going to make it very practical. Is this helpful, folks? Okay. Here's the cool thing. Parents can do this with their children. Teachers do this in their classrooms. Administrators and principals and vice principals can do it in the schools. And you can do it with each other. And that's what's so cool about this approach. So when you think about that, see, this was a game changer for me, okay? This was a game changer. Like I did a lot of helping, lots of theory. I was a professor, blah, blah, blah. But see, once I realized that I could control whether Georgette feels situated, like have an agenda, let her know where the bathroom is, tell her how long the meeting's gonna be, tell her what to expect, tell her what I expect of her, what she expects of me, let her know, like, you know what I mean? See where I'm going? Each of those things, each of those small things have a significant impact, right? See, when I, if you meet me, I think I thank Joe, by the way, Joe at the office helped me out yesterday at the school board. Is Joe here? Is Joe here? Hopefully I don't want to call him out. Anyway, he's awesome. I got a lot of work done last night because of his help. Here's the thing about significant. I'll go back to them. Once I realized that I could control whether someone feels valuable or valuable, game changer. I never stop thanking people. Genuinely. I never stop saying, hey, I appreciate you. And I tell them what I appreciate them for. I never, as much as possible, to the extent possible, I make eye contact, right? I never knew, but every time I meet a child shorter than me, I always did this, right? I always did. People always, Steve, why are you always bending down? You're going to get your knee dirty. I didn't know what I was doing, but do you know what I was doing? I was providing safe, significant, situated contact. I see you. You're safe here. This is predictable. You're going to be okay. And see, that was powerful for me because then I could do it with staff members. Then I could do it with my team members. And I know you can do it, the hospitals we work with, the pandemic hit. And there was one hospital in Winnipeg that did it. And her brother's here. And she's amazing. Her name is Brenda Broduke. And she was the president of the hospital of Seven Oaks General Hospital. She saw it coming. So almost like just before the pandemic hit, all she did was got all of her leaders to create the 3 great states with their teams. And they created a cocoon, and they were doing better than any hospital because people showed up and they felt safe, they felt valued, and they felt clear. No matter with all the shift that was going on around them, that place, like a school could be, becomes a place where people experience the 3 great states, where each other can. Are you with me on, folks? Okay, it takes a bit of work, but you're already doing it. Here's the cool news. I'm going to get to some really good news, and we're taking A break at 20 after 10, by the way, until 11, or until 10:45. Yeah, I want to get you situated. My God, that was a short presentation. Hey, do you want to go to BP? Yeah. Maybe do some day drinking? I grew up here. I know what goes on. I know the goings on. Some things are just fun to say. So let me ask you, when you think back to your greatest experience, whether it was a leader or whether it was a team, can you think about the things that created a sense of, let's start with safe. Let's just start with safe. Can you think of behaviors? Because this is what's so cool to me. It was a game changer. Like, I'd go to this place. See, this is the thing about Mrs. Safronitz. I didn't know it. I didn't know Mrs. Safronitz. I think she saved my life. I had a day where I was dysregulated. And if Freeman came out, there would have been a misunderstanding. But that day, the universe sent out Mrs. Safronitz. And when I was in those spaces, by the way, people don't know it, but I was one of 4 boys. We fought a lot. I was in lots of fights growing up in Thompson. I was very violent as a kid. Most people don't see that. And it was one of those days where I was about to snap. And Mrs. Safronitz, and I told her this years later, I didn't use these words, she did exactly what I needed her to do for me. Hey, Steve, are you okay? Hey, Steve, how's your day going? Right? Just slowly, in a calm tone of voice, she was keeping me safe. She also reminded me how important I was. You don't want to make any bad decisions, You're almost through class, blah, 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 right? And then she started grounding me, going, where do you think you need to be? What do you want right now? What do you need? I had no idea why Mrs. Safronitz was able. See, I didn't know that certain behaviors could have that kind of an impact. Do you know what I mean? I didn't know that. I now know that. And what it does for me now as a person who does a lot of teaching is when I go into a space, I'm starting to think, how do I keep people situated? Okay, how do I keep people significant? Make sure you thank everybody. I didn't know that I was strengthening their resilience and our resilience at the same time. It wasn't just that it felt good. We were learning, we were open. You with me on that, folks? Does that make sense? So when you think back to your greatest experience, any behaviors that you remember or interactions that help make you feel safe in your reflection that you know for sure? Let's start with this one. It's easier. When you're learning the 3 great states, significance easier. Let's start with that one. What were the things that either the leader did or the team did that helped you feel valuable or valued or that you belonged? What's that? They listened. Awesome. Thanks. What else? Positive feedback. Validated. Awesome. What else? I see people smiling, right? Do you know it wasn't an accident? Are you with me on that, folks? Are you with me on that? It wasn't an accident. That's what's so amazing about this. Because I used to think, well, Tammy, I like being with Tammy, don't like being with Michaela, like whatever, just happens. It is, you win some, no, actually you don't. Because both Michaela and Tammy both woke up to succeed that day. Are you with me, folks? But they didn't know, but now that we do, we can choose certain behaviors. And here's the cool thing. You're already doing it. What did they do to help you be clear on your direction, on your role, or what was expected? What did they do to help make things predictable on your team or that leader? What were some of the things that you can pick? Very clear job description. Awesome. What else? What else, folks? What other things helped you get organized? There you go. Sing it, sister. Here's the thing about humans. That's why when you're not saying anything, you got lots to say, right? You have so much to say. What else? What else kept you clear? Knowing your direction, knowing your role. What are other things? Purpose. Knowing the purpose, yeah. Do you know how many meetings have we been at where we're like, okay, now I'm not going to say in this school. Angel's like, careful, deGroot, careful. How many meetings have you been at your life where you're 45 minutes in and you're like, is anybody, what are we doing here? Does anybody know why we're here? Right? So this is the thing, folks. Our functioning, our performance, our resilience grows. We learn and we adapt in environments and relationships where we're experiencing the behaviors that create safe, significant, and situated. And even though I thought I knew this, I didn't know this. And there's certain behaviors that are more powerful. We've heard some of them. This is what's really cool. I didn't know this either. I did not know that. So we heard it already 3 or 4 times, okay? There is a behavior. There's behaviors called high potency behaviors, okay? They're called high potency, which means you do one and it's got way more power than other behaviors. Are you with me on that? Does anybody want to guess? And high potency behaviors are very small interactions that don't just do one of the 3 great states, they do all 3 simultaneously. And I'm going to share the 5 most powerful behaviors that you can do that will create the 3 great states. I tried to snap my fingers with a remote control. That didn't go well. What's wrong with me? See, that's where I need Marnie to run up to me and go, no, it's Steve, that's a stupid question. What's right with you? Try it in the other hand. Thanks, Marnie. Can anybody guess? Can anybody guess? Can anybody guess? One of the behaviors that's already been said 5 times today, that's the number 1 human behavior on the list that you could do with minimal effort, with greatest impact. Does anybody want to guess what it is? Oh, yes, that's up there. Listen is the number 1, genuinely, actively listening. Yeah, and that's a part of it, right? So that's what makes it high potency. When you actively listen, hi, we don't know each other. Nice to meet you. Right? That's awkward. That's a boundary violation. That's a number 4 on the list. Don't do that. We're not talking awkward, long, prolonged, weird eye contact, right? Because according to my lawyer and my psychiatrist, I'm not allowed to do that. But genuine, active listening. See, let's start with safe, what it does. You're okay here. Right? If it's respectful, you're safe here. I'm going to be fully present with here. I see you. That is powerful. Do you know the message, I see you, means you're safe? It's the first thing that happens when we're born. It's in my book. It's like the most incredible moment when a baby comes into the world and is either touched or seen. It's the most powerful experience. And when we feel listened to, it does the same. How does listening make you feel significant? What you have to say is important to me, which means you're important to me, which means you matter. How does it keep them situated? They tell us what we need to hear. We're able to hear in concrete, organized ways what their experience is. Listening is the number 1 thing, and we suck at it. Like, here's the thing, right? Here comes a little bit of guilt, a little bit of shame. It's not a Catholic school, so don't worry, I'm not going to pile it on. I work with the Catholic health organizations. There's crucifix everywhere, and I'm like, oh, man. Whew. Will I always feel like this? Okay, that's a tangent. So the other behaviors, and why this is so powerful, and I'm gonna say these other behaviors, and then I want to validate you and celebrate you. Is the number 2 on the list is focusing on strengths. Think about another thing we screw up. What's wrong? What needs to be fixed? What needs to be corrected? What didn't go well? What's the risk? Where's the rub? What do we like? We focus on, yet focusing on someone's strengths is a powerful, high potency behavior. The next one is respecting personal boundaries, which you probably know why that is. Another one is second chances. The ability to make mistakes. And see, this is interesting because I'm trying to figure out the 5th one, but this is why I did that first question. Do you remember when I asked, what do you want for the students? Because there's someone here going, it's hard to focus on strength, right? I know someone in here, and it's so hard. I don't have the time to focus on strengths. Why should I focus on strengths? I go back to that first thing. Do you want to make a difference in the life? Here comes the GSA. Here comes the GSA train. Woo, woo, woo. Yeah, it's hard. I heard you when we had coffee, you said that all you wanted for the students in your class was to succeed and to feel like they matter and to grow. Yeah, what are you getting at, Steve? Well, focusing on strengths will help you with that. See, that's where that why should I come in? And if you connect to your purpose and you align your purpose with what you have to do, it's not as hard. You with me on that, folks? Does that make sense? Any questions about this? Well, here's the good thing. If I followed you around for the next week, which I'm also not allowed to do because that's really weird, is I would watch you doing the 3 great states hundreds of times. And this is how it was a game changer for me. See, some of you are thinking like, oh, this is a lot. You smile at kids, you say hello to staff. Those are high potency behaviors, right? And see, I catch myself sometimes. I'll walk by someone, I go, oh, I didn't say hi. And I literally will turn around and say, hey, Joe, I just wanted to say hi and thank you. Like it takes intention, okay? If I followed you around for the next week, I would watch you creating conditions, behaving in certain ways that made people feel safe, right? And when they're safer, you're safer. That's how it works. Our resilience is inextricably linked. It's not just a solo endeavor. I could follow you around and watch you do 100 things over the week where you're making someone feel that they belong, like they matter, that they are valuable, that their efforts, their contributions are valuable. And that's going to make a substantial difference to develop the resilience. You've had those days when the shift hits and you're like, right? Have you had those days? Yet you don't get your full grocery delivered and you just lose it, right? Right? That's called a variability in resilience, right? But those things happen less when these other things are happening. Are you with me, folks? And they can happen at home, and they can happen in the class, and they can happen in the school. Okay, is this helpful? It gets better. There's a bit of a dip. We got 5 minutes for the dip. There's only one dip in the presentation, and here it comes. We also know, because most amazing things have a downside, like, heroin and stuff like that. Just kidding. Seeing if you're listening. Someone's at lunch going, did he say heroin? Heroin's a gateway drug, right? So, you be the research. We know that resilience is about learning and adaptability and getting stronger, right? I also believe in my research that each time we express ourselves is potential to grow. You with me, folks? Does that make sense? Each time you express how you feel, each time you express what you need, each time you express what's important to you, that moment is an opportunity for you to grow. Are you with me? When you express a need and someone meets it, you grow, right? When you express a value of respect or family and somebody meets that, you grow. You with me on that? When you express a desire, like to get better at sports, I want to play more sports, I want to do more physical activities, and somebody responds to that, you grow. Are you with me? When you show your strengths, when you show people what you're capable of. After the break, we're going to get to the core 4, which is the next set. Your needs, values, goals, and strengths. When you express those, that's your potential. And that's your opportunity to grow. Now here comes the dip. You guys remember this? Do you remember that time? Every single one of you will remember this. You don't have to say what it is. Do you remember that time you were sitting in a room with more, like maybe 2 or more people? And you were really excited about something. You were really excited about an idea or an opinion about something or someone, okay? Do you remember that time? Just going to go back. You were so excited. You had no doubt in your mind. You were up all night thinking about it. You've been thinking about it for weeks. You want to say something. You're in a room with 2 or more people, and one of them says, do you have any thoughts on this? And you look around the room and you're like, no. Are you sure? Yeah. You sure you don't have any ideas on this, any opinions? You look around the room and you're like, no, not at all. Can I see a show of hands? How many people have been in this situation? Right? Someone's like, 4 times before 8 this morning. Well, here's the thing about humans, is we know how great they are. The 3 great states are miraculous. We do them. We love them. They help us grow. They help us adapt. They strengthen our resilience so that when the shift hits, we're ready for it. We're stronger. But see, when we don't feel the 3 great states, we do one of 4 things. We hide or hold back, or we slow down or shut down, and that's our performance. See, we've all been there. Some of us a lot. Like, I mean, I grew up in a family where I said, I don't know all the time until I started getting hit for it. And then I'm like, oh, I got to find a new answer. I went to maybe. You know this, right? Have you ever been, let's go through the 3 great states. Why would you be so passionate about something and not say something? Why would you have an idea about the most amazing thing and not say something? Well, let's start with safe. There's a really good chance that you did not feel comfortable in that room. There was a really good chance that you didn't trust the people in that room, or maybe the situation. Maybe you didn't feel safe. Maybe it wasn't that. This is just a perspective. Let's go to the next one, significant. Maybe in that moment, you're like, I don't think this is going to be valued. I don't know if what I'm about to say is, how about worse, going to be criticized, harshly judged, or as stupid. So you don't say anything. Maybe it's not that. Let's go to situated. Maybe you're sitting there and they say, do you have any ideas on this? And you're like, I don't know where this is going to go next. I can't predict what's going to happen after I say this. Or who else is going to hear about this once I say this? So what's amazing is if you just simplify this for a second, being asked to say something and saying something is your performance. You with me on that? And your performance sucked. You failed. You sucked. What's wrong with you? You always have ideas. You said you had an idea last week. Do you see where I'm going with this, folks? What's wild about this is in this very moment, everything that you actually need to express yourself is possible. You with me? If we're aware of it. Because most compromised 3 great states happen unintentionally and unknowingly, right? Some people are going to, oh yeah, that guy's a jerk in the room or whatever. No, it happens like how many interviews we're in and you got to go to the bathroom and they bring you in and they don't even ask you if you have to go to the bathroom before the interview. And you sit there all agitated and forget your answers because you had to go pee really badly. And someone's making notes going, not taking this very seriously. Right? Like how, if you think about it, like this is, I'm not going to get into all of the misattributions, but the good news is, and as teachers and as human beings who are also amazing people in our community, is just know that when we do the 3 great states to the extent possible, I'll talk about that word when I get back to those 4 words, people grow. People are open to learning. People express themselves and they enhance their own resilience individually and collectively. But when the 3 great states aren't there, when they're compromised or jeopardized even just a little bit, we hold back, undermining our capability, undermining our confidence, and undermining our own resilience. Okay? Does that make sense? And this was good for me to know. Because the last thing I'm going to say before the break is I got on high alert. So every time I asked somebody to share something and they were reluctant, I automatically went to, uh-oh. This happens in a thousandth of a second. Oh, I didn't even introduce myself. Oh, I didn't say thank you. I didn't tell him where this was like 3 weeks ago. I didn't even tell him where the bathroom is and how long it's going to be. I didn't get him clear. I didn't get him situated. And once I did that, guess what? The guy settled right in and started talking. So what's amazing is once you can start to be aware and start with us, not what's wrong, but what's going on, and start to quickly assess the 3 great states, you'll catch yourself going, oh, wait, did I offer you something to drink? And you will feel their level of performance change. Is that helpful, folks? If it's not, just keep that to yourself. I do love being back in this town. So many good people here that I hung out with. Yeah, I want to say, first of all, how is the presentation going, though? By a round of applause, is it going okay? Because I can change it up if you need it. I can change it up. I'm flexible. I can flexy that way. All right. See those moves? Yeah. I told Bruce I was going to come out like to a walk-on song with my headset in so no one else could hear it, but I didn't have the energy to explain what was happening to you at the beginning. We didn't have a relationship yet. That would have been weird. It's all about building a relationship. All right, so is the stuff that I'm going over, is it resonating with you? Does it make sense with you? Because we're going to go on to another set of concepts, but here's something that I really want you to know. You're more awesome than you think you are. You're stronger than you think you are. This is the thing I've learned about humans. People don't know what I do. People are like, Steve, are you still teaching? Or like, I'm researching about human awesomeness. Still with everybody from child welfare and jails. I worked in prisons for 10 years. I'm working now with judges and F-35 pilots. And you know, the formula is the frickin' same. It is the same for all of those people. When we feel safe, we learn. When we feel significant, we take chances. When we feel situated, we feel confident to move in a direction that we might be uncertain about. Those things give us the opportunity to strengthen our greatness, our human strength, our resilience, that thing that we only talk about once in a while. Now, here's the cool thing I want you to know. I'm speaking about the ideal, and this is very important because I know there's a lot of perfectionists in the room. And this goes out to my perfectionist brothers and sisters. I already know this will help you feel better. So, we're talking about the ideal, that every day in the classroom, we create the 3 great states. Every day at home, we create, with each other, we create the 3 great states. Anybody else feeling the pressure? It's like, oh my God. Oh, geez. That sounds like a lot, Steve, like always. So here's the 4 words I want to give to you. You're going to create the 3 great states to the extent possible. And I want you to think about that seriously. And if you've got a pen, write it down. You're going to do what you can to the extent possible. You're going to get through the day and you're going to go, could I have been clearer with those instructions? Could I have been on that first day? Could I have been clear? Could I have had the hand? Yeah, okay, cut yourself some friggin' slack. That's okay, right? Could I have said thank you more? Like, could I have thanked Tara for saying that openly when she rarely gives me compliments ever in public? Yeah, I should have, but I'm not gonna, Tara. Just kidding. Thank you, Tara. Right? So that's the thing, right? To the extent possible, because here's the thing. I know I have worked with enough humans that take care of other humans to know that every single person here woke up to frickin' succeed today. I know that. I'll never question your intentions. But like Harwood needed to do in the gym is question Steve's behavior. Does that make sense? So to the extent possible, because most of us wake up to do the ideal, and the second we get out of bed, we get punched in the face with the real. And it challenges us to stay focused. It challenges us to do it all the time. So take some pressure off. You can't do it all the time, but once you start becoming aware of the things that you can do, it starts to become a game changer. You will feel it, and the people around you will feel it. Does that make sense, folks? To the extent possible. You're going for progress, not perfection. All right, you ready for the next things that keep us strong, strengthen our resilience that you have, that you woke up with? They're also tied to your motivation, but before we get to them, let me ask you, go back to your great experience again. Go back to that moment in your head, in your heart, to that leader, to that team. I want you to go there, okay? You getting there? You there? Do you remember them? Do you remember them? Do you remember them? Do you feel it? Do you feel it? That team? I'm going to ask you something. Most people said they were motivated, they were inspired, they felt good, they were supported, they were being listened to. So I'm going to ask you to rate 4 things for me. Okay? Low, medium, or high. All right? You ready for this? I'm going to ask you during that time, how would you say your energy was during that greatest experience? Would you say it was low, medium, or high? High. That's the right kind of high in school, kids. Right? As I'm going to the bathroom, I'm pretty sure this is the bathroom I got drunk in with Kenny Wright. See, they changed the toilets. You can't put beer in the back of the toilets anymore. Right? I was the best of students and the worst. So, high energy. Okay, how about this? Let's go to the next one. During that time, how would you say your focus? Were you like all over the place, or were you dialed in? Were you with it? Would you say your focus was low, medium, or high? Yeah, high. What about your level of commitment during that time? How committed were you to that team, to that person, to that thing in that moment? Would you say it was low, medium, or high? And finally, what kind of effort were you putting in? Was it a little bit, or was it all of it? Yeah. See, here's the cool thing about the 3 great states. Remember I said good moments, great moments don't happen by accident? I call these, and I'm going to publicly call them in the spring, these are the 4 pillars of optimal human performance. So whenever I have somebody working with me and they're not energetic and they're not focused and they're not committed and they're not giving the effort that I want, I don't ask what's wrong, I ask what's going on, and I check out the 3 great states. Right? It's like if Angel, who I've known my whole life, doesn't mince words. Right? If you're not here, too bad. Love it. Like, I love it. You know what you get. Right? Which is awesome. But I'll tell you something. If I'm in a meeting with Angel Lavoie and somebody asks her for opinion and she doesn't give it, I'm like, uh-oh. She's probably not feeling one of the 3 great states. You with me, folks? So instead of saying what's wrong with Angel, how come she's not performing? How come what's going on? Let's check it out. You with me? That's how that starts to work. Whether it's with student performance, whether it's with our own performance, whether when new hits, new, unpredictable, complex, or disruptive, and our performance dips, or we're hesitant, we're reluctant, instead of asking what's wrong, we ask what's going on, and we move into which one of the 3 great states might be compromised. And what's really cool since I started doing this, I almost always find 1 or 2. Okay, does that make sense, folks? Okay. Ready for the next set of dimensions? And don't worry, I'm sending this presentation so you can have it, okay? I met a couple people in the hallway, they're like, that's a lot, I'm taking a lot of notes. You can stop. All right, I'll send it to you. So we've talked about the 3 great states, and you know these, this is amazing. This is when you're motivated, because motivated is one of those things that we've kind of screwed up as well. Like, I'm not going to get into it, but we screwed it up, right? Because usually people are only talking about motivation when they're dissatisfied with it, right? It's like the other M word. Does anybody know the other M word? Like when you hear it, you better like take it seriously. Morale. Have you ever heard that? You never hear it. Like, it's like, yeah, things are great around here, and then you're in the staff room and someone's like, they're new, and they're like, so Lucy, what do you think about the morale here? They lean in. You've got a problem. Because we don't talk about it when it's good, right? So here's the cool thing about your greatest moments. This is one of the things I learned. Your core 4, the reason why you were motivated is because your needs were being met. Your goals were being accomplished. Your values were like in alignment, and your strengths were being leveraged. Now this is so simple. I even have an academic brain going, that sounds a little bit too simple. It is. That's why we missed it. In those moments, and I'm going to talk about what I need. You know what this, everybody just satisfied some of their needs. So you know what they are. Okay? Needs but they're not just physical. They're like emotional, like mental, all those things. They need to be heard. They need to be involved. Like some of us have that, some of us don't. Values, and this is important. Values, according to my work, is one of the most powerful forces of meaning and motivation. Think about it. Have you ever seen somebody talking with their hand on their chest about pride, family? It sometimes gets more like into a fist when they talk about integrity, right? And it's right at the center of their core. Values are one of the most powerful forces. And usually when we're in our greatest moment, like I usually do these exercises where I have people describe their moment, and you can pick out 35 values words, like collaboration, accountability, support, honesty, courage, and all, like their greatest experience is not just made up of actions or interactions, but they were living important values. Does that make sense? You with me, folks? They add power, and it's important to know about that. Why? I'll get that in a second. And goals aren't all powerful. Here's the thing. There are some teachers going to be dragging their humps to class tomorrow, right? That's okay. Everybody here has too many goals. I'll tell you that right now. Right? And some of them are motivating, because someone's here going, okay, if goals are motivating, how come I don't want to help my sister-in-law move next week? That's a goal. Oh, I can't say what just came to mind. It would have been the funniest joke of the day, but disrespectful. And since I just slid over the values slide, okay. Goals are only motivating, get this. If you want to differentiate why some goals you're like running to and others you're dragging your butt to, the goals that help meet your needs and overlap with your values are the ones that have more power. So if you're ever dragging your butt, there's a really good chance that your needs are not being met, your values aren't being aligned, your strengths aren't being used, and it's like painful. So we're not going to get into that now, but it's just good to know there's nothing wrong with you. Strengths, I'm going to tie this to our resilience right away, and I'm going to tie it to the 3 great states. Strengths are the second most powerful. But now I'm not saying to school, this is not, R.D. Parker or any of the schools in the division, but one of the things that we've kind of screwed up, remember the second behavior, the high potency behavior, is focusing on strengths. The hardest question still for most of us to answer is, what are your strengths? Foster kids, understand, foster kids, I worked with foster kids, gang members, a lot of kids that grew up in care, child welfare, they have trouble. But guess what? This year I found out that the highest level physician leaders in Canada had the same trouble. I had a group of the most talented physician surgeons in Canada sitting in a group, and we did an exercise where they had to write down their strengths. And half of them couldn't. Think about that for a second. What have we done, right? There's a whole bunch of reasons for that. I just want you to know it's a very powerful force of meaning and motivation, and we've got to change that. We've got to focus more on what's going right. Where are we succeeding? When are things going well? Yeah, that was a shitty day, but guess what? We got through it. What were the things that helped us? And we start to identify those things, you know why? So we can redo them. But let's get back to you as a person. Why was your greatest experience so great? Why were you feeling so awesome that it's indescribable? It's because your core 4 were plugged in. If you think about this, you were in a situation where your needs were being met. So here's the thing. If you look at this slide, if you're somebody who likes to interact, you need human connection. Okay, you with me on this, folks? If you really need, now most of us need it, but some of us need it more than others, right? If you're in a situation at work or in life where you're interacting with other people, you remember those 4 things? Energy, focus, commitment, and how high? Those are high. The reason why they're high is because motivation and meaning are connected. This is part of my research. When you're feeling motivated, it's not by accident. It's usually connected to one of the 4 things on the left. And the more excited you are, the more indescribable it is. It's not just that you're feeling the 3 great states, but it's lined up with your needs. It's lined up with your values. It's lined up with your goals. And there's some part of you that has the capability to do what you're doing. Does that make sense, folks? Does it look like I'm having fun? See, I'm not being my dad. Don't worry, I'm not gonna hit you. That was always a trick question. What's about to happen? Right, my dad's great. I'll probably have to tell him I said that today. Thank goodness he can't reach me. Somebody asked me today, are you having fun, Steve? And I'm like, if you know me, I'm having fun. And I can tell you why I'm having fun. I can tell you why I canceled something really big that Angel doesn't know about to be here. Because when somebody asks me to help that I care about, It fulfills my needs, it fulfills my values, it fulfills my goals, and it fulfills my strengths. If you saw my pay scale, you'd consider this a volunteer. it's all relative, I guess, sometimes. Gotcha. Let's keep it safe. So what I'm getting at is and let's talk about the money thing just for a second, because for my team, it's important to them. For me, the reason why I built a team around me is because it hasn't never been to me. I used to do stuff like this for free, right? That's why I'm not married. Just kidding. There's other reasons, but we won't get into that. No, it's a long story. Now you can't use this against me. But when people offer me money to help them, it puts me off. It actually goes against my core 4. And I actually don't get excited. So if you know somebody's core and you know your own, you can plug yourself in. Does that make sense? So I knew I was going to be happy. Our greatest moments happen when our values, our goals, and our strengths are aligned. But here comes the kicker. I'm going to stop there just for a second because I'm going through this quickly, okay? Because it's so simple, it almost is ridiculous. Because as a recovering academic, that's what I call myself. People argue all the time. Try this one. Try to say to somebody who's in academia around human behavior and social work, try to just drop the statement all human beings are motivated and see what happens. You'll have tons of arguments. Oh no, they're not. I got this person. They're not motivated. Can I ask you something? Has anybody in here not been motivated at one time? Okay. Because there's 2 types of unmotivated. There's the being unmotivated when you couldn't give a shift, right? It's not a problem. But when you're unmotivated, when you actually want to be more motivated, have you been that where you're not as motivated as you wanted to be? Has anybody been in that situation? Okay. Let's get real. I'm going to take you to a situation in work. You don't have to make any eye contact. It doesn't have to be in the school division here. Have you ever been in a situation at work where you were really unmotivated? And you knew that there was something that could have been changed to make you more motivated? You with me on this, folks? If somebody asked you, what's one thing we could do so you could be more motivated? You wouldn't have to think about it, is what I'm getting at. So what I want to say is, once we really understand our core 4, what I need in this moment, what's really important to me and what do I want, whether it's my classroom, my school, our department, whatever, once you start understanding your strengths, your level of meaning goes up. And that becomes your power. Does that make sense, folks? So when someone tried to convince me not to come here, right? I was like, my good friend and colleague, Brenda, said, "You're wasting your breath. You could offer him $1 million. He's not coming on that day." And it had nothing to do with money. It has to do everything with what I know my core 4 is. You with me on that, folks? I would have drove here. I would have hiked through the snow. And see, this is the thing. When we start to tune into people's core 4, once I start to know Todd's, I start to know Marnie's, I start to know Michaela's, I start to know Sarah's, then we can start plugging them in and understanding when they're not motivated versus when they're motivated. Are you with me on that, folks? Okay. So I'm going to tell you right now, here's the really wild, weird news. And I'm going to open it up to questions too today, because I want to tie a lot of this together. The cool thing about motivation and meaning is that when it's happening, you know those cars that used to do this and they would charge themselves and then they would roll for a while? That's what happens to us when we're in experiences of meaning and motivation. When we're experiencing meaning and motivation, our batteries charge. You with me on that, folks? They actually charge. That thing we call resilience that we never talked about until something bad happened is actually charging. So when we create the 3 great states, we're safe enough to let our needs, values, goals, and strengths come through. And when that happens, we experience more meaning. Okay? And when we're engaged in performing and feeling meaningful in our work, we're more resilient when the shift hits. Okay? Does that make sense conceptually, folks? It's really quiet in here. I'm going to make it real easy, and I'm going to show you how you can find yours. Does that make sense? Okay. Because I'm going to give you something that could be a game changer for some of you in just a moment. Oh, we're out of time. Any questions? Have a great lunch. Does anybody know that fun is in my top 5 values? So go back to your greatest leadership or your greatest team experience for a second. We're going to start tying all of this stuff together. Would you say that during that time, some of your social and emotional needs were being met? Like your need to be involved, your need to make decisions, to have a voice, to have a choice, maybe to engage, to interact, to connect with other people? Would you say yes or no during that time? Would you say that important values were being lived in that moment on that team? Values like integrity, respect, collaboration, support. Would you say that during that time you can identify certain values that weren't just words on the wall, but actually were being lived in that moment? Yes, maybe, or no? Would you say that you were getting shift done, knocking it down? Would you say that during that time you were getting things accomplished? You were getting things done? Would it be yes, maybe, or no? And finally, would you say during that moment your strengths were recognized? People were leveraging your strengths. People were telling you what your strengths were. You were allowed to use your strengths. You were put in situations where you could leverage what you brought to the table. Would you say yes, maybe, or no? Remember earlier when I said good moments don't happen by accident? Those good moments are happening for 2 really big reasons. 1, the 3 great states are happening. Either in that environment or with those people, you feel safe, significant, situated. And you know what happens after that? It sounds weird, but I call it your core opens up. See, this is important. And Mr. Freeman and I had a really good ending because he apologized to me. Because he was head of the media department, and I had to use the media department for grad. So the universe put us together. We had to work together. And this is something I want all of you to know. I wasn't taught this, right? And this is important. I talked to Myra, and I had a lovely talk. This is what I learned. As I work with people, I do research with really bad behaving people in the world. And what I'm finding over and over and over with the bad behaving people is nobody ever told them. I'm serious. We think they did. We say they should be better. They should be a better teacher. They should be a better janitor. They should be a better maintenance person. They should be a better early learning staff. See, what we do sometimes is we have an interaction and then we go and talk about them, but we don't talk to them. Does that make sense? And what happens is we sit somewhere at BP or we sit somewhere at the Hub, which I went to the Hub last night, had a great steak. Thanks, Chris. He made me pay for it, but I was hoping hey, this is a good connect, hey? Pretty good? Feel excited? You want to pick up the bill? No? Okay. That didn't happen, by the way. I did go to the Hub. Steak was awesome. So this is the thing, right? Back to, I know that Mrs. Safranitz woke up to succeed that day. And I know Mr. Freeman did too. But nobody taught Mr. Freeman how to access Steve's core. Does that make sense? But see, he did. He accidentally apologized. I don't know if it was a real, I'm not going to explain it. But it was awkward. Whether it was by accident or not, do you know what happened? I never told this story. He accommodated the 3 great states. And I was like, right? And in that moment, I felt the need to share with him for the first time what I needed from him as a teacher. For the first time, I was able to say, you know that time you called me a bozo? That really hurt my feelings because you keep talking about how important respect is. Yet you called me a name. And you know, you said that we were going to do A, B, and C, so let's go to goals, right? I came to your class because I love those things. We're going to do that, and we didn't. You didn't do that thing that we said, so I'm not situated. I'm not feeling significant. So I said, screw it. That was the day I walked out of your class. That's called disengagement, right? But you know, Mr. Freeman, you didn't know that. And I just wish that in grade 10, that first time we tangled, someone would have taught you about the 3 great states. So they didn't use those words in our conversation. And then another magnificent thing happened because I was ready to like I was nervous. I'm like, I've been here before. This is where I get suspended again and get valedictorian taken away from me. And he apologized again. And then we became friends. So the reason why I'm saying that is we cannot learn someone's core 4 unless they feel the 3 great states. That's the secret. And here's the thing, most of us don't know our own core 4. And this is where the news gets weird but really good. See, so my work with high performers is that they kind of know what motivates them, but they don't really. They don't. They're like, yeah, being in a plane, having control. And I'm like, okay, what's that mean? And they're like, just being in a plane. And they keep saying the same thing over and over. I'll say to teachers, like, what is it that like gets you where? The students, okay? Tell me more about it. The students, it's the students, okay? What is it about the students? It's like just the students. But there's more in there that they've never been able to connect with. And this is what's really cool. Their excitement isn't just the students. And I'm going to give you some tools on how to access what's in that thing that you love. And you know why? Because once you find out, it's not just the students actually. It's a whole bunch of other things that you can find in other places. The other thing I want to say is, here's where it comes to our resilience, folks. When you know your core 4, when you know what you truly need, what you truly value, what you truly want, and what you're truly good at, you are invincible because you see things coming a mile away where you know you're going to be jacked up. You're like, I'm going to be jacked up. It's going to be awesome. I got to contain my energy, my focus. I don't want to do too much and freak everybody out. And then you can also look ahead and go, here comes some shift. I go to meetings today. I know my core 4 and I know why I'm angry. But see, everyone's safe because I'm not freaking out on everybody. I understand that my needs aren't being met. My values aren't in alignment. That's okay. Stay calm, stay regulated, and I'm stronger for it. You with me on that, folks? I'm more resilient. But when we don't know our core 4, things just happen to us. And this is really important, coming at you. Just as the core 4 are important sources of meaning, like when you feel like, oh my God, oh, like oh, those indescribable moments, your core 4 is activated, whether you know it or not. It's not an accident, unless you've just taken an 8-ball. Here comes the second thing. They're also the source of your frustration and anger. This was a game changer for me. I didn't know why I was so angry in this situation. I'm like, why am I so angry? Why am I so angry? Oh, my need? I didn't sleep or eat for the last 2 days. Okay, stop yelling at everybody. It's not about Marnie, right? How about this? Does anybody remember? Quick pop quiz. What's the most powerful force of meaning and motivation out of those 4 things? What did I say earlier? Do you remember which one I said? This one's the most powerful force. Values, right? So when you're in a situation, and this is important to know, you'll be in one in the next couple months where you'll feel this anger come up and you won't know what it is, but you might tune in and go, what value is operating right now? And you might go, oh, yeah, I'm at a meeting where it was about collaboration and creativity and none of us have been allowed to speak. That's why I'm angry. Has anybody done this to you? Why don't you show some respect? Why don't you show some respect? Have you ever had that? You're like, weird, I hear the word. I'm hearing the word. Not feeling it. This is called a values incongruence. And why is this important to know? Because sometimes, not only does our meaning and awesome power and strength come from our values and our core four, the opposite comes when they're violated. And sometimes they're violated in the most subtle ways. Like not following through when you said you were going to follow through. Saying for sure the staff meeting was going to be done at 5 and it goes till 5:45. Right? These things start to add up. Now, a lot of people think that these things are all small things. Remember I said, cut yourself some slack, you operate from the ideal. You start to look around and we unintentionally compromise the 3 great states all the time. And we unintentionally bump each other, bruise each other, and sometimes burn each other. Right? So we've got to be careful when we're not performing or we're not as motivated. What one of the 3 great states might not be happening here? And what are we doing that may not line up with our needs, values, goals, and strengths? And once you start to put those things together, behavior starts to make sense. The good stuff, the not so good stuff. Okay, are you with me on that, folks? Okay. And I know some people feel that heavy feeling, but it goes away really fast when you start to understand which behaviors you're doing that actually reinforce the good stuff. Is this helpful, folks? So what motivates you? Like, what are the things? And I'm just going to give you a couple tips, okay? We're not going to get into a big workshop-y. Like, I would love it, though. What's the thing that motivates you? Do you know what motivates you? Ice cream? Puppies? No kids in the classroom? Keep it legal, folks. And if yours has to do with a bearskin rug and 200 pounds of rice pilaf, I want you to stop right there. I think you're describing someone's happy place. Okay, so that's where you start. Do you remember when I said we only ask what's wrong with us when the shift hits? We only ask why we're not motivated when we're not motivated? Well, what I want you to start doing is pay attention when you're motivated. And here comes the cue. Ask yourself these things. I'm currently doing this with some of the highest performers on the planet. And it's awesome. They're a bit embarrassed that they don't know their core four. And I'm like, get over it. Like, we all don't know it. We all weren't done. Like, see, I grew up in a European home, okay? I make jokes about my dad. We're good, right? It's like I say about my grandfather. People say, it's like us who's not performing, a teacher who's not performing. Like, they should perform more, they should perform better. My Opa didn't know how to hug his grandchildren. But he tried. It was really weird. His performance sucked. Like, if we were to give him a performance review, it's like, it really hurts. I don't know if you're trying to break my ribs, but it's scary. But I'm pretty sure no one showed him how to hug. You with me on that, folks? I don't think anyone showed him how to hug. I think he wanted to, but he didn't know how to do it. And that's what we're talking about. When performance dips, do they know what's expected? So, most of us don't know what our needs, values, goals, and strengths are. So this is how you find out. I was saying the European thing, because see, I thought I needed more friends, but apparently I needed to stack more wood. That's what it was all about, right? You know, I get mixed messages like, that really hurts. No, it doesn't. I'm like, okay, right then. Just let it bleed. It's going to go away, you know? So there's many reasons the way that we were brought up, why we might not be able to connect with what we really need. We're also told to go with I'm going to tell you right now, if you ever do this exercise, I'm going to tell you, Steve is going to say, don't go with your gut, okay? Because usually your gut is a defensive response and we BS ourselves all the time. Go with your third instinct when you're trying this out. So the next time you're super awesome, stoked, you're having one of those indescribable moments, stop that moment and go, what need is being met right now? It's amazing. Like, give yourself, sort through it, because you're going to find some things that'll be weird. It's like, I need to be loved. No, it's not that, it's not that. Be very careful. It might be that. They need to be liked. They need to be involved. They need to be seen. You got to be, just do this in your head. And I guarantee you, if you start doing this today, things are going to start making more sense. And then you can go to a value because they're so powerful. You go, what is this? Oh my God, it's family. Oh my God, it's success. Oh my God, it's like I'm being validated and recognized. Oh, is that a bad thing? Is that a bad thing? Should I not be? Like, because we do things, we minimize our strengths all the time. We sucked at this one so badly. Because what do we say when someone gives us a compliment? We say the worst thing ever. Most of us, not all of us. Someone says, oh my God, Amy, that was amazing. Thank you for helping us out. And then we say the stupidest thing ever. That was nothing. What? That was everything. That was nothing. And then we go home starving because that need, here's the thing about needs, they don't go away till they're met. So values, you're going to find that in the moment, there's a value or a set of values that are, mine's fun. Like I love having fun if you haven't figured it out already. So you're welcome, and I'm sorry if it's too much fun. And your goals. What goals are happening right now? Is it my health? Oh my God, this is like, I didn't eat those chips and I feel really good. I had an orange. I'm judging myself, but I feel really good. Because there are goals that are lined up that we're either getting close to. And that's what that success feeling feels like. It's not an accident. And once we start to understand it, we can recreate it for ourselves. We can recreate it for the people we love. We can recreate it for our students. And finally, what strengths of mine are being leveraged here? Oh, I organized this. Oh, okay. And here we go. Because I know we're going to get to bring it all together. Here's the $1 million questions. And I'm sending this to you. See, the thing that I'm sharing, you might not get your head around the 3 grade states. You might not get your head around the core 4. Just I kind of settle. I kind of know it. But I'll tell you what. I know you can stop in a really great moment and ask yourself what needs being met. I know you can ask what value is aligned right now. It's amazing. And you're going to start going, something, because I said this earlier. They're not only our sources. Here's the other thing. This is the second one. I don't want you to do this one too often. The next time you're frustrated, the next time you're angry, you ask yourself the same question, but what's missing? What needs not being met right now? Oh, I know. They said I could help. And they just asked me to stand down. That's why I feel the rage. Right? This is important. Our experiences that have a high energy don't happen by accident. Then I go to the value. And I'm like, I feel disrespected. That's why I'm so angry, because respect is up there. What goal? Oh, yeah. They said we were going to work on something or not. There's no results. There's no evidence. There's no, right? And my strengths are in neutral. Have you ever been sitting in a meeting? Come on, guys. Somebody tell me you had this experience. Like, you're in a room and you're like the best person at something. Right? You're like the best at it. Like whether it's counting money or organizing or scrapbooking, I don't care. Like you're the best at it. And there's a group of people that are like, we need somebody to do, and they pick someone else, and you're sitting there. Have you ever had that? Have you ever heard that? Ooh, you just didn't. But get this, let's tie this all together, right? Oh, the higher the rage, the more the need, the value, the goal is being violated. And then this happens. Oh, Steve, I noticed you had a bit of a movement there. Do you have anything to add? No. Nothing. You sure, Steve? Looked like you had something to say there. No, nothing to add. Yeah, I possibly could be sitting on the best idea ever. But because my needs are being unmet, because my values are being violated, because the goals that were promised are not being upheld, and because my strengths aren't being activated, I don't feel safe, I don't feel significant, I don't feel situated. And do you know what you call this? Totally disengaged. Yet 6 minutes earlier, I was willing to go above and beyond. And that's how that operates. And once we figure it out, we can start take control of the situations. We can be proactive. We can understand our own behavior and other people's. Is that helpful, folks? Is that helpful to know? Okay. So the next time you're excited, ask these questions. You will learn something new. I promise you. Be patient with yourself. And here's the questions that you ask when you find the big ones, like, These questions are called the $1 million questions because they do two things, and I also love them. I use them in schools. How often do parents ask you for the impossible? I want to move her to another classroom. I want her out of the school. I want $40,000 in support. I want you to rebuild the whole school, and then we'll come back. You're going to love these questions. I got tired of arguing with parents, angry parents, and when I went into child welfare and gangs and all that stuff, you met people that wanted, like, what do you want, Ryan? Porn? No, you can't have porn. And then Ryan would punch you in the face if you said no. That's where these questions came from, but they're really helpful in finding your own core four, right? So I'll never forget when a family in Thompson said, we want her to go to a different high school. I'm like, there's only one high school here. I could have said that. I could have said, there's only one high school. But if you start to learn that needs, values, goals, and strengths are always operating when people get out of bed, whether they know it or not, this is how it happened. We want our daughter to go to another high school. Okay, so you want her to go to another high school. Yeah, that's all we want, Steve. Okay, how would that be helpful if she went to another high school? What difference would that make for you? And they didn't even blink. They said, we want her to be in a class where they care. Okay, tell me about that. And we got her back to school. See, care is a value, right? Does that make sense? Care is also a goal. Care is also a strength, and care is a need. So how powerful was it for me to hear that word from that mom? When they came to the school to fight. And I know already, this is what makes this the $1 million question. This isn't the first time she's asking it. And this might have been the last time. And I pretty much know if I said, no, you can't, she would have said, F you, what are you good for? This school sucks, we're going home, and we wouldn't be anywhere. So I want you to just use these questions when you hear a student say, I want something that's impossible. I want more time off. Or when Angel, next time someone says, we need more support, before you feel like, because you want to say, I can't, we don't, I just got off a meeting. But just say, how would that be helpful if you had more support? And the next thing they say is amazing. Like I hear people ask me for impossible all the time. Like, Steve, I need you 24 hours a day. I need you on call 24 hours a day. I got that 2 weeks ago. And I got these questions and I'm like, holy shift. On the outside, I'm like, wow, tell me more about that. And on the inside, I'm like, I can't do that. Are you nuts? But you got to stay calm. And I just said, so James, how would that be helpful if you could reach me 24 hours a day? And he goes, I just want to know I'm on the right track. And I'm all, tell me about that. And we whittled it down to a once every 2 week check-in. But see, if I said I can't, see where I'm going with that? Once I say I can't, I compromise the 3 great states and we don't get anywhere. And that's where these come in. So you can use them when you hear the impossible, and they're really helpful. And where I'm going to leave you with this is when you land on, it's my latest interview, I'm putting this in the book with a CEO of a big company who is feeling not resilient, who is feeling not motivated. And so I just said, pick something you like. I'm not going to get the whole transcript right, but this is how it went. I said, pick something that you just love. She's like, well, work. I said, no, outside of work. And she didn't even blink. She said, ice cream. And I'm all right. She goes, I love ice cream. See, I just created the 3 great states. See, psychologically, this is how that works, because now she can open up the core. If I say talk about the shift all the time, it just closes it. We can't get access to it. So tell me about ice cream. Well, I love the taste, but I go with Sharon. Okay, so you go with Sharon. Tell me about Sharon. Well, she's one of my best friends, and I just like being with Sharon. She's fun. Okay, so she's fun. Just write it down. Fun. She's your friend. Tell me about Sharon. Well, she's just really nice and kind. So nice and kind and fun, right? And then we keep talking. And I go, so tell me a little bit more about nice and kind. She goes, oh, like when I'm with people that are nice and kind, it just helps me feel better. I just light up. And I'm like, I light up. Tell me about being light up. I can be myself. I can be genuine, authentic, right? So we start talking about this, and she's going on about all this stuff. And then she just stops in the middle of it and goes, Steve, what? It's not about the ice cream, is it? I go, no. What do you think it's about? She goes, I haven't been myself. I've disconnected from the colleagues that I like. I haven't been able, she uncovered all of her core values, needs, goals, and strengths that she has totally been missing in the last 8 weeks. And she didn't even blink and said, I know what I need to do. I'm like, awesome. That's how close she was to it. And these questions, so whether you find ice cream or it's with my husband or it's hockey practice with my kids, that's part of it. But when you stop and say, what difference does it make to be at hockey practice? And you'll hear things like family, independence, this cup of Timmy's when no one's bugging me. Oh, what difference does no one bugging me? I never have any alone time. I didn't think that was important. Oh my God, this is my happy place. What the? Does that make sense, folks? Nobody taught me that. We are more than our behavior. Our behavior, our performance is not our potential. And when we experience the 3 great states and we connect to our core 4, remember, it's about learning and adapting always in every moment, not just in the shift. And how do you do that? Well, it's going to wind it down and just, because I know it's time to go soon, is stay connected to your purpose. It was the first thing we did at the beginning of the day. That thing alone will strengthen your resilience. Focus on good to great days, not the bad ones. Focus on what's happening on those good, great days, the places and the spaces. Find those 3 great states. What are the behaviors that you like? What are the ones that you keep them? Do them more. Know your core 4. If I can tell you one thing, is start to tune into your core 4, because it's not the experience that happens to us. It's how we move through the experience that makes it a good day or a bad day. Right? I'm not minimizing bad things happening to us, but there's lots of days where bad things happen and you take it and you move through it and you're strong and it's not an accident. Focus on your individual collective strengths and know your co-regulators, and that's what I'm going to leave you with. Resilience isn't an individual team event. We are stronger because of the people in our lives. Because here's the thing about humans, there's days where we can't keep the 3 great states ourselves. There's days where I can't connect with my core no matter what. And I need Georgette to do the things that I can't until I can. And that's what makes you, as teachers, the most important person in a child's life. Because every day that they're with you, the more that you create the 3 great states and let them access their core 4, you are strengthening them to put up with the shift that they're going to hit when they get out of your school. And also every day they get stronger to deal with whatever it is that they're dealing with. So I want to say to you folks, find your calm co-regulators, keep them close, and thank them. And yeah, that's it. Thank you. So, by the way, I am not selling books to get rich. I'm selling books to get reach. So you might know Michael Fullen, one of the #1 people in the world on education. He's on one of my teams. He's helped validate this algorithm. Tim Pitchell, #1 guy in the world on procrastination, has joined the team. So what am going to invite you to do is, if you want to stay involved, because I want you involved. I want everybody to have this book. I want all parents to have this book. So if you take a picture of that QR code, that will put you on a list where I keep you updated. Not my team, with a newsletter. When it comes out, some shift is going to change in the world. And I need some help. Honestly, I know you as teachers, there's days where you're getting tired. There's days where you feel overwhelmed. But I'll tell you what I know is that when I'm surrounded with people that promote the 3 great states and we share similar core 4, we're unstoppable. And I want to be unstoppable with you. So the book's coming out in December, hopefully January at the latest. If you sign up, I'll keep you posted. So any questions or comments before I run?
Okay, just a huge thanks to Steve for coming back to Thompson, back to your roots. Once a Thompsonite, always a Thompsonite. We appreciate you spending the morning with us and giving us a few things to think about, or a new way to maybe approach things. My favorite's going to be the $1 million questions as I head into this new school year. I might use those a time or two.